It's Scripter Screen, the hit show beamed straight to your ears and your hearts. Join hosts Chris Kitchen and Zach Strackman this week as they take a wild ride through the Disney Plus series WandaVision. Is this newest edition of the MCU worth the wait, or has Marvel finally stumbled? You'll have to tune in to find out. So don't touch that dial now, because you're just in time for an all-new episode starting now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Scripter Screen. We are your hosts, Chris Kitchen, and with me is Zach Strackman. How are we doing?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
This is actually not as good as the last one, I feel, Zach. Unfortunately for the audience, they don't know this, but we had a technical difficulty, and now we have to change from one recording to the other.
Unfortunately for us, Chris's internet connection is doo-doo caca-poo-poo.
Why are we blaming this on my connection? This could easily be a worldwide in a pandemic. Come on.
You're right. Let's blame COVID.
We're blaming it for all of our other issues and problems. And actually, I mean, speaking of COVID, I just got to say I happen to know a lot of people as of late in my personal life, including my parents, getting vaccines and such, and I couldn't be happier for them. I can't wait to get it myself.
I am happy to say that I have received my first round of the vaccine. So
no third arms or third eyes or 11th toes or anything like that.
It's only been a few days, so remains to be seen. But so far, so good. And yeah, I would urge anyone, no matter who you are, go get the vaccine. Don't be one of those people.
One of the sets that I work on, the COVID compliance officer of most of those sets, she's a lovely woman named Denise. She has a sign that she puts up that says, "Don't be one of those. Cover your nose."
I like that.
Yeah, it's really. She has a lot of great signs.
That's great.
But hey, this isn't the COVID podcast. This is a
screen
or screen, right? This is a Scripter Screen. And we bring lovely movie and television content to your ears. You can follow at Scripter Screen on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Scripter Screen. And you could also check out our website, www.scripterscreen.com or anchor.fm/Scripter Screen. You can check out all of our past episodes. You can leave us a comment, send us a message, share us with your friends. And we're available on all your favorite listening platforms.
Give us a suggestion on what you want to hear. Or if you have a question or a comment about something we talk about, we want to hear it. We want to hear you. So hit us up.
Now, back to the moment at hand, Zach. We are discussing the critically acclaimed, the highly anticipated, and recently finished season of WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Yeah, how did you full spoilers ahead, folks. We're going to go through everything.
Full spoilers for everything Marvel related, including the everything with WandaVision. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really creative. It's an aspect of the MCU that has not been touched on before in as much detail and presented in a medium that was really unique for it, and for the genre as a whole. So yeah, I thought this series was great.
Yeah, I like how Marvel, or the MCU rather, is really stepping into the TV universe. I know we got a little bit with like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., right? We had like the Netflix series, but like this is like the true to form television format of these, like exactly kind of what we would really want. Because it upheld the same quality as the show. And also, yeah, like I said, it explored new territory and maintained technical fidelity, similar themes, and just great story and everything. Like, they treated it exactly the same way as they would have if it was a film. And,
and I think
technically we got more out of it.
Yeah, I think kind of like you said, because it came in a shorter season, and we instead of doing like a 13 episode run or a 24 episode run, you get 9 episodes. And I think with even like next week with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's only 6 episodes. And because you have a shorter episode run, you can put more of a budget into each episode than maybe you would get with a typical with the previous television entries. I think of like the Netflix shows; those were very ground level, very heroes that didn't have a lot of crazy powers, so you didn't have to have a lot of wild special effects with them.
I don't know, was an Iron Fist not a crazy power?
I know, but like the most, it's like, okay, you make his fist glow green and stuff. But like I think of stuff like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, all that stuff. It's mostly just like cool action without like, but a lot of it is like martial arts or punching and kicking. So it didn't require some of the stuff like you would get in this, where you have a character like Vision who's in like full combination costume, makeup, CGI, or he didn't have flying or powers or a lot of the stuff that went into this to WandaVision. And I think, if I'm correct in this, they've said that for all the Disney Plus Marvel shows, the budgets are all pretty much comparable to what they would spend on a movie.
Which is insane. Like, I just saw in this one, they estimated about each episode is about $25 million. And there's 9 episodes. That's $225 million. Oh my God. But at the same time, I don't know if what did they spend? I mean, I know Avengers, they spent like close to $1 billion on that, right? Or something like that.
Something like that. I know with like Game of Thrones, it got to a point, I think they were spending like $5 million per episode.
That seems pretty reasonable. I think they did. It was very similar for like Breaking Bad, though. Like Breaking Bad, I want to say it was like 5 to 10 million per episode or something like that. Maybe even as low as 3 million.
So okay, so like for a
by the way, Avengers Endgame was 356 million.
Okay, so but for an interesting comparison, the first season of Westworld, its pilot episode alone was $25 million to produce. Oh and then God. with every subsequent episode was 8 to 10 million, and that was a 10 episode run. So similar length, but if you think about it, they put in almost twice or more than twice as much budget into each episode of WandaVision than they did in any one episode of Westworld outside of its pilot. So
my thought is, and I don't want to dwell on this too long, but it's just something I'd like to put out there, is I wonder if they're making enough money more so in their Disney Plus platform than in the box office. Now, I know an article just came out in the last week from both Variety and Verge and all these other things saying that Disney Plus just topped 100 million subscribers worldwide.
Right.
And WandaVision, I think, is distributed at least anywhere Disney Plus can be accessed. And so I'm thinking to myself, like, not all. Some of these subscriptions came way before WandaVision because that's only like maybe their newest heavy hitter on the platform. But does it justify 225 million? Will they make back their return with just the subscriptions alone? Versus in the box office, there's an actual you see where the return, like where you're getting it.
I think so if it's 225 million for the whole series run, and that probably doesn't account for like
how many people subscribe to Disney Plus just to watch WandaVision? Well,
that's a good question, but then you have to remember there's probably a lot of like people who have Disney Plus for the Disney content.
That's what I'm thinking.
And you said how many subsequent users? Not subsequent.
It's just as of this month or March of 2021, I think Disney surpassed 100 million subscribers.
Okay, so 100 million. Platform. I know at the very least I'm paying $7 a month for it.
Yes, it's about $800 million that they're making a month.
so I would say it's a worthwhile, they have the money for it. Can
I just say how fucking ridiculous that is? Oh my, those words just came out of my mouth. I'm like, okay, no, it doesn't matter. This is you money.
And then they have the gall to charge $30 to see Raya the Last Dragon.
Don't you just love capitalism?
And they go, oh, but you can wait till June to watch it for free. It's like, I should be able to watch it for free now.
Can I tell you something? Anissa's so upset at me that I have not purchased the premiere access to watch it as of yet.
I was thinking about it, but at the same time, I'm like, I can wait.
I do, and we want to. It's just in the span of time that we have between like now till like the Academy Awards. Like I want to watch the movies with her, and we have to be very selective of what we watch. And we finished watching The Crown together. That was her last show, and then she promised me that she would dedicate time to finishing season 2 of Succession. And which we're doing. We're almost finished with. And I said, all right, then after that, then we'll get to start doing all of our movies. And yeah, maybe Raya might be one of these. But we'll see. We have a list of stuff that we have to get ahead of. And if it just so happens we don't finish that list till June, then maybe I'm not
right. Yeah, no, I mean, hey, if it happens, it happens.
I also realize that's a very selfish way of looking at my relationship.
No, it's all good. Where no mistakes were made. But yeah,
but back to the show.
WandaVision, as we were discussing, yeah, I think they easily make their budget for this, and I think it's cool that because a lot of this show probably doesn't need $25 million to do, like a lot of the early sitcom stuff. When they need to really like push the budget, and I think of like a lot of scenes where like they show Vision flying around. They show a lot of Wanda's powers and stuff. That stuff, it looks really good. You can tell they know where to put the effort for it. It's gonna be really interesting next week when we get to Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I'm so excited for that. It looks so good.
It looks great. And what's interesting is like this show, WandaVision, it had an interesting concept where it's like part of it was a sitcom thing and part of it was a normal Marvel like movie basically. And for the parts where, again, like I said, maybe there are areas where they could save on the budget here or there by, because it's an older style of doing things and you don't need so much money to make just a standard for camera.
If you look at the way that it's things are made now to emulate older looking stuff, like they definitely did put in all the production value that they would have on a regular thing, right? Set pieces and design, and they definitely did use high quality cameras. And then just in post, they would change them to 4x3 and then throw in the black and white filter. And things like that.
I know that, but at the same time, it's like something like that is not, I feel, as financially demanding as like a crazy action acrobatic scene of
they definitely didn't leave like helicopter shots or like anything like that.
It's like I'm gonna be interested next week when I watch when I start watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, how well that show handles its budget. I don't know if it has a similar budget, but how good is the stuff gonna look when you have like Falcon flying through
it's all Falcon all the time.
Stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna it's gonna be interesting to see if at any point we're like, oh yeah, this needed a bit more of the movie level budget than a television show, but
yeah.
I don't know, we'll see. But WandaVision, for what it was great. Like I said, it really made use of the medium it was in. Which is to say, lampooning and kind of giving a send up of all the old sitcom ages.
Can I tell you something? I was looking at bad reviews of the show, and I think I found one that I think. Well, no. I want to ask you how it feels about this because I don't agree with this at all.
Okay.
This is one. It comes from one Roxana Haddadi from RogerEbert.com, which is funny, but she gave it a splat on Rotten Tomatoes. She wrote,
"Cool.
Once WandaVision starts recycling the same content in each episode, it becomes difficult to ignore that the show's primary interest is playing with form rather than propelling its story forward." And I don't think I agree.
That sounds like a review that was written before the conceit was made clear for the show, because So when the show starts, you get the I Love Lucy episode, which is pretty much just straightforward sitcom.
Yeah.
With the main thing being when the Vision's boss starts choking, and they kind of have to break the Wanda's like, Vision, help him, and he saves him. And then the second episode, again, it is basically full sitcom. You don't get too much in the way of like revealing what's going on, and it isn't until I think the end of the third episode that they start revealing what's going on outside of Westview. And I remember seeing reactions online when those first two episodes were coming out and getting into the third episode where people were like, oh my god, where is this going? Just get on with it already. Part of me is like,
I don't feel like it really dragged though. I don't.
No,
I mean,
it's people being impatient. People, I don't know. I think it's people. They went into this expecting it to be just like a standard, like your brain has been trained to understand a Marvel property, and so you go in and you'll be like, yeah, the gimmick will go on, and then I'll get regular cool action, crazy powers, flying and shit like that.
Well,
and then
listen, I don't know what all that's about. But before we move forward, I just want to give everybody a brief synopsis for those that, if you haven't watched the show before, don't know why you're listening to this podcast. But if you have, just a reminder, WandaVision blends the style of classic sitcoms with the MCU, in which Wanda Maximoff and Vision, two superpowered beings living their ideal suburban lives, begin to suspect that everything is not as it seems. That comes to us from IMDb.com, the Internet Movie Database.
It's not bad. I'd say a little misleading, because I think one of them begins to suspect things are not as they seem.
Listen, actually, all right. So going back to the pacing of this show,
yeah,
I definitely, for me, this show was it was awesome. I loved every little bit of it, and it's because I think the thing about the pacing and the way that every episode ended is just, it kept making me want to. I just wanted more and more and more, but not in like a gluttonous way. More like I just couldn't wait to find out what was to happen next. I feel like they sprinkled the right amount of mystery into each ending of each episode.
Yeah,
and definitely kept me on my toes.
That was going around that was people would get pissed off whenever it'd be like please stand by, at the end of each episode.
Oh, dude, they got us with that. I was like, oh, darn you, Matt Shackman.
Right, Shackman. Is it Shackman? Shackman?
I think
he's
Shackman.
A Shackman.
Shackman. Tell us in the comments below.
But actually, let's run down some of the creative forces behind this. Behind the series, because I think this has got a really great group of people backing it. So the showrunner was Jacqueline Schaefer, who previously worked on Captain Marvel and Black Widow, which has not come out yet. A movie that Disney recently came out and they're like, no, it's going to be theatrical. We're not releasing it on Disney Plus. Go see it in the theater. They're pulling a Chris Nolan on that.
But at this point, I'm glad, because you know what? By the time it does come out of theater, which according to another article, they are sticking with this is the last release date, and they are doing it that way. I think we'll be fine, because even the president just said that everybody should be able to get the vaccine by May 1st. And
that's right.
Listen, I know that you and I have had good experiences going to the movies during this time, excluding Tenet. And I think, I don't know, maybe a Marvel movie might draw in a lot more attention.
Maybe.
A lot more people.
I think Disney at the least is prepared for like a somewhat underwhelming return for their on this movie. I think they're probably saying it's not going to perform as good as it can be, but it will do as good as it can, and we just have to accept that because of the time. I think
it's going to still do rather well. I can't imagine a world that this movie is going to do bad in any sense of the word.
Listen, man. Until yesterday, Endgame was the highest-grossing film of all time.
What's up with that? Why did they? I feel like James Cameron wanted that to have it on purpose, and it's not like Disney doesn't own both of the studios and the properties of these films now. Like I don't understand what their deal was.
It's
maybe
the
they're
world's
trying to
most
rehype
expensive,
Avatar 2.
Maybe it's just the world's most expensive pissing contest. But
yeah.
But anyway, Jack Schaefer, great job on Captain Marvel. I'm hoping Black Widow is really good, and WandaVision, she knocked it out of the park. The series, every episode was directed by Matt Shakman.
Dude,
Shakman.
I his past work, he belongs or is a part of a lot of some incredible television.
Mm-hmm.
Going down the list, he did 2 episodes of Game of Thrones from season 7. We're talking Spoils of War and Eastwatch.
Spoils of War and Eastwatch. I know Eastwatch was the one that a lot of people had problems with because of some like writing troubles, not the direction. I think the action in it was really well done. And Spoils of War was that cool one where like the Dothraki and the dragons attack the wagon train.
Yeah.
So yeah, his direction is mwah.
He also is part of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia alumni, directing 43 episodes. And I gotta tell you, now that The Office has left Netflix, my new just show that I turn on in my house and just listen to as I do chores or anything else has now just become It's Always Sunny again, which is great.
Can I tell you something? I'm surprised with how big of a meme it is. I'm surprised we didn't get a title card like in WandaVision where Wanda was like, no, I'm not going to, the hex problem isn't going to get any worse. And then it cuts to black and it's like the hex problem gets worse.
Honestly, that would have been great. But I got to say, like, I've loved that show for a while. Matt Shackman's also been a part of Succession, which I actually just rewatched this episode. He directed episode 6 of season 2, Our Jestes. One of my personal favorites, as it it shows another part of Jeremy Strong's really great acting chops. I think, and he just won an Emmy Award this last season, or award season for the show. So again, go watch it. And then he also has done some work on Fargo, the first season, which we've covered in a past episode. Go watch and listen.
That's right.
The last 2, 9 and 10, so our finale and pre-finale, which were both very good episodes.
Yeah, really, really great stuff. Shackman or Shokman, he's a fantastic director, did a really good job here. I know there were some parts in this series that definitely wowed me in terms of their direction, which we'll get into as we dig in. But big writing team for this. Jack Schaefer acted as head writer for it. But there's a lot of names. Gretchen Enders, Megan McDonnell, Bobak Esfarjani, Peter Cameron, Mackenzie Dorr, Chuck Hayward, Cameron Squires, Laura Donnie. Like, obviously a lot of these shows have big writing teams, but I just wanted to just give a shout out to all these guys because there's a lot going on in this series and they were able to make everything understandable. I would say maybe at times they were a little too over-explainy, to invent a word, but we'll cover that later. Nothing too offensive. And then we have the music. The main compositions of this series were done by Christoph Beck, and the intro music for all the different sitcoms were handled by Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who are two-time husband and wife.
They're Disney alumni, as you will.
Yeah, husband and wife songwriting team who are two-time Academy Award winners for Let It Go from Frozen, big famous song, and Remember Me from Coco.
Can I just tell you something? They're just too happy in everything I've seen them in. It's like, who's that happy in real life?
If I was a two-time Academy Award winner, I'd be happy all the time.
I could tell you a number of two-time Academy Award winners that have had a pretty rough of it in terms of life.
No, that's fine, but I'm just saying I would be happy.
Who was it that said it? Said I think it was Matt Damon said, "I'm glad I won my Academy Award so young because I realized that wasn't the top thing. Like that wasn't it." So it's like, oh, okay, you never know what things like that do to you.
Yeah.
But let's go into our cast. We have returning as Scarlet Witch and Vision, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany.
That's right.
And then
can I just say,
yeah,
anytime, whether it was, I mean, God, at first it was in Age of Ultron, and then it was Civil War, and then it was Infinity War. But every time I have seen Vision on screen, I always just think back to Iron Man 1. To just like, man, this guy has come. I mean, I realize Paul Bettany has been in tons of stuff before he was Jarvis, but like, just as a character, how far this guy has come from being just an AI, like,
because he's really a great actor. Looking back to like A Knight's Tale, and then seeing like it's like they had like this a lot of talent put in a role that wasn't like very minuscule, but I mean, I'm glad that they finally utilized this guy, and I'm glad that they chose him to begin with, Jon Favreau being as early as Iron Man.
Right, and I mean, just like, I think the thing I saw him first in was like A Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
Again, not his first. That's the first thing where I'm like, I know who that is.
I love his. Actually, I want to say the first thing that I remember seeing him in was in the Da Vinci Code.
Oh yeah, he's the albino, right?
Yeah, he's a creepy character in that movie. But he's I feel like he's got a lot of range, right?
Yeah.
Paul Bettany is definitely I mean, he's a heavy hitter now. He's a Marvel guy. I don't know what you want to say.
He's really cool, and his performance as Vision is so on point for like for the character from the comics.
Yeah.
He really knows how to tap into that. And again, Elizabeth Olsen, she carries the series. She is fantastic. I gotta say though, one thing that upset me about this run is we had a show that was sending up the different sitcoms of each decade with an Olsen sister, and not once did she ever say, "You got it, dude."
Because it wasn't her but man. Come on.
I know, but it's like, it would have been so great. It was like, oh my god, it's not the correct Olsen sister, but it is an Olsen saying the line.
Yeah.
But whatever, I can get over it.
I think I just learned recently that the other twins, I know that they're in the fashion industry now and doing things, but their company is worth like $400 million or something like that.
Yeah, they got a good thing going on.
I'm like, oh, Jesus. But I think, Elizabeth Olsen's probably become my favorite now because the other two are irrelevant at this point to me.
Right.
Anyways, I'm not as mad about that as you are, or upset, or sad, or.
Oh, I'm not even that mad about it.
No. You were calling me. You're like, this is egregious.
But what was I gonna say? No, she's great. And I hope to see her. I know she's gonna be in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
I don't know to what degree she is. Some people think she's gonna be like the main antagonist of that movie. Some people think she's gonna be just helping him out. But we'll see. She's now like, god tier level powerful, so
we'll see.
We will see.
We get a couple of other returning hitters that really great returns. We got Randall Park as the FBI's finest, Jimmy Woo.
Woo.
And then we also, to a surprise, we get a Kat Dennings as Dr. Darcy Lewis.
Woo.
I gotta say, I did not expect to see her in this. I thought we were done with her after Thor 2, or I think was last time we saw her.
Yeah, I was a little nervous when they announced that she was gonna be in this, because I said, oh my god, like, she was one of my least favorite parts about the Thor movies, because she was kind of annoying. She was not too bad in this, because it was like she was mainly like delivering plot specific things and not just, cheesing it up on the side while other stuff's going on.
Yeah, I don't think she did a bad job at all. In fact, I welcomed seeing her. I was like, oh wow, we haven't seen you in a while. Like I'm seeing this is a great reintroduction. And then we get a newcomer, Tiana Paris as Monica Rambeau.
Tiana Paris, who I only realized because I'm a fool. I only realized as the show was winding down. I'm like, oh, I've seen her so many times before. She played Dawn in Mad Men, not Dawn Draper, but Dawn's secretary, Dawn, who she was always like a pretty great part of the show when she was in it, and it took me when I realized that I said, oh, of course, like obviously that's her. But yeah, she did a really good job here.
She's also known for Barry Jenkins' If Beale Street Could Talk, the TV series Empire, and then Mad Men is another big one she was on. She also is going to be in Captain Marvel 2.
Captain Marvel 2, and maybe Secret Invasion with Samuel Jackson.
What I don't with this whole Secret Invasion. So we'll get to talking about all that later in a bit, guy.
Oh. Can I just say, with Randall Park, one thing I loved, and it was such a little thing, but when he whipped out the business card with his little magic trick that he learned after Ant-Man and the Wasp, I was like, I love that. That's the kind of shit I want to see in these movies and shows, where characters bounce off each other, and then we see how the characters have changed each other over time.
That's what I call a callback.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
And then we get a couple of other newcomers, not cumbers. We get the hilarious Catherine Hahn as neighbor Agnes. We get Josh Stamberg as Tyler Hayward, who I do not like. And Jillian Hillard and Jet Klein as Billy and Tommy Maximoff. Oh, I guess that's a little bit of I shouldn't have said that. Well, we said spoiler alert already.
It's all right. People know. Speaking of spoilers, Agnes, what a fun character as kind of like the nosy neighbor, and wouldn't you know it, she was Agatha Harkness all along.
Oh boy, yeah, I gotta tell you something. I love Catherine Hahn in almost everything and anything I've ever seen, and any of the Adam McKay films, like from I'm talking like Anchorman, Step Brothers, a classic. I even in Parks and Recreation, her role in the show, I forgot the character's name. But she just brings with her like this fantastic personality and performance everywhere. You know, she auditioned to be on The Office. There's like her tape, her audition tape. I think as Pam, which or I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Pam. But I mean, I in a way, could I see it? I don't know. I like what's her name? Jenna Fisher. That's her name.
Yeah.
I think she's hilarious. I'm happy to see her in this doing villainy things.
Let me tell you something. We'll get into it later because it got ridiculous at one point. But all the fan theories that circled this show because the show kind of invited it. One of them I heard was so dumb. They were like, "Oh my god, they're doing multiverse stuff," and Catherine Hahn voiced Doc Ock in Into the Spider-Verse. So is she in this show Doc Ock from Spider-Verse? And it's like, no.
That would no. I don't know how I feel about all that.
Of course she isn't. But we'll get into the theory madness that surrounded the show in a little while. But yeah, great cast. Really fun seeing everybody and watching them play off of each other. But just overall, tell me just some things maybe you liked. What was your take on this series? Just full spoilers in general. What have you got?
Well, like as I mentioned a little earlier that I thought that this show was definitely a little weird in concept. I'm like, oh, is this just going to be a spinoff, or how is it going to correlate? And later then we kind of we're introduced into this sitcom world that Wanda has created, and is also unknowingly broadcasting out into the real world, right? And then I'm like, oh shit, like this is getting deeper, the plot thickens, all my audience cliches that I'm putting out there, like I'm getting, they're receiving, and this is great. However, when people start talking about like how this series relates to the comics, I wouldn't call myself like a vanilla Marvel comic fan, but I guess I'm kind of there, whereas already they've covered the majority of everything I know within the first 20 something films. And that's okay. Like I'm fine. Like I was fine with that because I know, like, all right, if they didn't gain my trust already in the last 10 years, they have at this point. And so I don't think that they're going to steer me wrong. But then people are always talking about, oh, what if this is House of M, or what if this is some other? And I have no idea what House of M was or any of these stories. To the point where I didn't know when we were introduced to Sword, right? I'm like, oh, is this like a counterpart to Shield? That kind of makes sense. I didn't even know that existed. That's a thing in the comics, and they brought that here. Like, had no idea over the last 10 years that Sword that Sword would have or could have ever existed. And I'm like, oh, they took that out of Pokemon's book, right? Because weren't two games named Sword and Shield? Of course they were.
Yeah, I suppose Pokemon took it out of Marvel's book.
Right, but then it also dawned on me like a few questions. I'm like, oh, did they not learn anything from the Hydra situation, or like what if was Sword also affected by Hydra? Like, I mean I don't know, but like they're able to go into a lot more directions that are at least new to me as a member of the audience, which is why I really appreciated them, because I don't fucking know some of these things, and also in a way I like to live into that sense of ignorance. Like I don't want to know everything per se when I'm going into some of these shows, because then I said in past episodes, as like Star Wars, like I don't want to keep with me my expectations of what are going on or what's going to happen. I want to try to go in there as neutral as possible, so that I have an enjoyable experience. I'm not going to these things to be disappointed, or like if I already knew everything going into it, then I'm just supposed to come out like, yep, I knew it and it happened. Like that was okay. Like I want to be excited about some of these shows, about some of the moves. Of course. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, as kind of like you said with the comics, it's funny because I try to read comics whenever the opportunity presents itself, but I find with a lot of the movies it helps because there's such a wealth of stories that you never really know where to begin sometimes. And sometimes for me, I'm like, I look at a thing and I go, okay, what are they covering in this run, right? Like, for example, I've been looking at like the future movies that are coming out, and I say that for Thor: Love and Thunder, right? They're covering the whole idea of female Thor, of Jane Foster becoming Thor.
And that's a news story that came in like the last 10 years.
Right. So, and it ties into the run of the comics called Unworthy Thor, where he loses his worthiness, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's kind of how I've taken to reading the comics now, on like more of a case-by-case basis, because it helps point me in the right direction where I go, and not to spoil it for myself, but just to kind of get an idea of where the story could go, because I hear a lot of criticisms sometimes at the Marvel movies that I think are a bit unfounded, where they go, like, people who watch Civil War and they're like, God, there's like 8 people on each side. This should have been like armies of superheroes on either side. They should have waited with Civil War, because now it's they wasted it, and they used only like they only had like 16 heroes to spread out across 2 teams. And I'm like, no, it doesn't need to be one for one exactly with the comics.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, do they realize the kind of world that we've already established that the heroes live in terms of like the films, versus
it's like,
what the comics are? It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I just reject like the criticism of like, well, it's not exactly how the comic was, and it's not on the scale that the comic was, so it can't, it just doesn't work. It's like, no, it works for the scale that the show has that the movies have set up, and it doesn't lose any of its gravitas, I guess we'll say, by being smaller scale. I think it's just as effective, and you still get those moments, like, you know, the whole Iron Man and blasting his beams against Cap's shield in that one great shot. But with WandaVision, I you know, kind of brushed up on the Tom King Vision series, which, you know, stuff like that kind of moved into this show, like Sparky the dog. But you know, with House of M, I had read that a while ago, and a lot of people were expecting this to be like the big, like, this is going to be the thing that just changes the MCU. It's everything's going to be different after this, and I've heard a lot of people voicing a lot of disappointment with the series, because they go, "Oh my God, this, you know, this was supposed to be House of M, and hardly anything changed." And I go, well, like, hold on, it's not like, you know, they never said this was going to be the House of M. They were drawing inspiration from it, and it's on a much smaller scale than House of M. But don't criticize the show for adapting something rather than presenting it like point for point exactly as it happened.
That's true. I do want to go back and say something about Civil War now that you mentioned it. Great comic moment that I know I got to appreciate because of my little bit of knowledge is that Scott Lang got to embody Giant Man. And that was before the trailers ruined that moment, because they ended up doing that like the week after the film premiered for the first time. And I got the full unspoilered moment of him growing, you know, building size, and I thought that was amazing. And then we got that fulfilled later when we met Goliath and Bill Foster and Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Right.
And I'm like, that was an incredible moment. Now, going back to this expectation in House of M business, I want to say the Marvel really changed, because this will go into something that I want to talk about at the end. What was it? At the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. Like, we were almost given, like, I knew that Marvel was going to get weird a bit. Not weird, but like more space aged after Captain Marvel, right? We got the introduction of the Skrulls. Right. You know? And then that carried over into Far From Home. And then we see now, what's his name? Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury is now up in the space station, hidden from Earth with the Skrulls, hanging out. That's the new thing. I'm like, okay, now we're gonna get into like the really weird stories, and that's where like kind of like Sword also fits in, right? Because in the comics, from my knowledge after some research, like Sword's base is actually in like it's orbiting the Earth or something like that. Or they have one or something like that. Right. And so, you know, Far From Home also established that, like, oh, we might already have a multiverse, right? Like, that was Quentin Beck's...
Kind of, yeah. I mean, they mention it, and...
Listen, this will be the first time I say this on the podcast, but we got then, you know? we got because it wasn't actually that way, but we knew that a multiverse was coming. You know, we could only expect it, like...
Right.
We thought that was the first introduction. And then again, like, with this series, I'm comfortable saying that we got again, but I'm not disappointed that I got. It's just like, oh, you said it was coming, and did we get it? Like, oh no, we didn't get it necessarily just yet. And that was very evident with I want to say one major thing in the show. I don't know. Is it safe for me to say to lay it down now?
I think now's as good a time as any.
So when we all know that that Disney is like this capitalistic power, and they just want to absorb everything. So when they got Fox and they got people like the X-Men, we know that there's crossover between the X-Men and some of this Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. All these characters are Marvel, and so we get the introduction of Pietro again into WandaVision. But we it's that reveal that, like, oh my God, is this Aaron Taylor Johnson?
Yeah.
No, dude, it is Evan Peters.
Yeah, that's
from the First Class, Apocalypse, Days of Future Past series, X-Men as Pietro in, dude.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild reveal. I think audibly was like, "What the fuck?" when I saw him, because it. I was honestly, I didn't know what they were gonna do. I thought maybe they would have possibly convinced Aaron Taylor Johnson to come back, because I remember when Age of Ultron was coming out. He had been in an interview where he said, like, I don't want to do a bunch of movies. I don't want to do recurring roles as this character. So when he died in that movie, I was kind of like, oh, that makes sense. I had actually read something from him that said he didn't want to do it, and they found a way to include him and then let him exit. So when Pietro shows up in the show and you get the back of his head and it's like the silver hair that goes into the black.
I know.
I was like, oh, did they get him? And then you see Evan Peters' face, and it was just kind of one of those like, oh, holy, are they doing this?
I was, I was a little, I was shocked. I was not appalled. I was like, oh my God. That's what I'm saying. That every episode ended on a little bit of a cliffhanger. The episode was still fulfilled, but like it just kept me engaged the entire time, which is what quality television should do. And that's another thing. We were introduced to this thing based off of our predisposition to know about Evan Peters' role in X-Men in real life, and
Right.
They definitely played on that. They knew what the hell they were doing.
Yeah, I think maybe not the best thing for the long term of the series, because I think it led to a lot of people getting angry at the show. But
listen, at the same time, I'm not disappointed with the result that he wasn't actually Pietro. He was a kid that lived in and I know he's not a kid. He's like 30 years old. But he lived in the town of, what was it, Westview? Something like that?
Westview. Were you okay with him just being a dick joke?
Yeah. Ralph
Boner.
Yeah.
Boner.
That was kind of funny. I laughed, but at the same time, like, it was just another instance of like, okay, this isn't a multiverse situation yet, but I got.
This was an Iron Man 3 Mandarin situation.
That's what somebody said, and I didn't hate that then, because
I loved the Mandarin reveal in Iron Man 3. I still say Iron Man 3 is one of the best MCU movies out there.
I thought you told me you didn't like Iron Man 3.
No, I really like it.
You're hearing it here first, folks, just like I am, that Zach really loves this Iron Man 3. That's so weird.
That was great.
I didn't know that you liked it. And not that I don't like it. Part of it they shot in Miami.
Yeah, yep, I remember that. And but yeah, no, when I really like Iron Man 3, because when everybody was complaining about the Mandarin not being in it, like the real Mandarin, I was like, what, you want the like old Fu Manchu like racist stereotype? Because I don't want that. and people got really butthurt about it, but we are getting the quote unquote real Mandarin in what is it?
Shang-Chi in the Ten Rings.
Shang-Chi, that's right.
And we'll see how it relates to the Ten Rings terrorist organization and some blurred area between Eastern Europe and the Middle East, because they never technically established what region the original Ten Rings was in.
Right.
But except for like the people definitely, I don't think, fit the area of which it was taking place. They were definitely trying to blur some lines there.
Well, anyway, the whole thing with Pietro or Ralph Boner. By the way, that was actually spoiled for me slightly in a Funko Pop. I saw a picture online of Funko Pop of him in the costume he had during the Halloween episode, where it's like, the like cheaply made Quicksilver outfit.
Yeah.
Where it had Pietro Maximoff in quotation marks. So I was like, okay, cool. So he's. But I had a feeling. Here's the thing: people want to act, huh?
No, I was gonna say someone close to me looked on the IMDb before the episode aired and saw that Evan Peters was credited, and they're like, who else could he fucking be outside of who he already was in Marvel before? But
exactly,
you never know.
But you know, when people get surprised, I go like, why were you surprised? Because like we saw characters, you know, we've seen characters not be who they say they are in the past before, and B, like, oh, there was a whole song in the show about how Agatha has been messing with people from the very beginning. So, and part of that is you see her using her magic on Pietro's, you know, when he appears at Wanda's door. So, to me, when I saw that, I was like, okay, yep, he's not the real Pietro. He's a fake. Like, and so when the reveal eventually came of, yeah, like, he's Ralph Boner, I was like, well, not the name I would go with, but yeah, I assumed we were gonna get here at some point.
Yeah. I honestly though, I think he kind of heightened the show to, you know, he was able to bounce off the other characters really well, and he made like a really interesting kind of re-conflict for Elizabeth Olsen, Wanda, in the show. Yeah. And that's the thing I liked a lot about it, about where they kind of put her character. I definitely think they put her in a lot of situations. And they explored kind of a therapy situation for her, right? Basically, they put her past in front of her, and then they also revealed like kind of who she is and what she had to do to kind of get what she want. And I loved it because she's no longer just the hero anymore. I mean, she has that villain past, you know, from her introduction in Age of Ultron, and then later into Civil War, as we see like the public view of her. But like they kind of maintain that. But really, they kind of fucked her up at the end of it, like, because now she's really like committed crimes. She's held an entire town hostage.
So yes, about that, for one, I was on my own. I had always been like, yeah, I like that they're painting her as not just a good guy. Like, she is doing very morally questionable things right now. She's trapping a whole town. But I was recently listening to Team 4 Star's Talkcast Pod show where they were talking about WandaVision, and one of them brought up something really interesting, which I had not thought of, and I'll give credit to them. And I'm sure many people have touched on this, but I like that the MCU might have with this started a narrative going forward that's going to start playing out in the background of people becoming untrustworthy of superpowered beings. So it creates the environment of people not liking superpowered people, and eventually when we introduce mutants into the MCU, the groundwork will have been laid where it's like, oh my god, there's all these people with powers now and we don't like powers, and then that's like, you know, that is central to the X-Men
story, yeah, like that the animosity that the public builds, and for characters like what is the senator's name, the one guy that like proposes like the Mutant Registration Act and things like that, or like the Enhancement Registration Act. No, but actually that is a great point. Thank you, Team 4 Star, for your insights. I didn't think about that, but like I do like that, because one, now we were kind of past the point of not vanilla heroes, but like one flavored. You know, now we have our Neapolitan mixture of you know, nuance, and also characters that do weird things. Like, and you know, we got hints about that before. Like I want to say Thanos is the best. Is a really great idea. Like, and his execution in the series was fantastic, because like, you know, he wants to do such a bad thing, but like at the heart of his you know, plan to wipe out half the universe was like, it's for sustainability. It's for for everyone else to be better off in life without having to fight over resources. Though he caused a lot of carnage and pain for a lot of other people, but like, oh man, like you got to think that the at the core of these ideologies, that's some pretty deep shit. And I think you're right. Like, that is a great way for kind of Marvel to kind of set in those ideas, like what'll happen to the Avengers and things like that. But I also like how they changed some of the narrative too, like on a different aspect of the show, our introduction to like how Wanda got Vision, or and when we saw her break into this place and she leaves in a flurry, and then it just later revealed that like, yeah, she broke in and this Hayward guy, the director of Sword, let her in to see what they've done to Vision. And then she just leaves like, oh, that's also great storytelling right there. Like, we were led to believe that she stole him, but...
So, I would actually say, and this is just a personal taste for me.
Okay.
I almost don't like that, and I would say the areas of the show that I felt were the least entertaining and the least necessary were when Sword explained everything for the audience. Because a lot of stuff I was like, yes, I understand the implication, within the logic of the show. I don't need it. I don't need to be spoon-fed the answers because I'm smart enough to figure it out as things are going on. But I understand some people, they do like things answered for them and whatever. It's just not my specific stuff.
I disagree though. I don't think it was much spoon feeding, because we were following. That turned into Monica Rambeau's like kind of mystery detective hunting of like her figuring those things out.
It wasn't the worst, but for me, I think the biggest problem I had with this is that, okay, so the way the show was set up at first was that it was Wanda had the hex up. Hayward explained to everyone that she broke in to the Sword facility, stole Vision's body, and took it and created the hex, right? And it painted the situation in a very nuanced way where it was like, it's not just Wanda's good, the big government organization is bad, and it's kind of the same story we've seen before, or the obvious direction it would go.
I mean, if Wanda stole something, is she good for doing that?
Well, no, I mean, but like what I liked was like it painted our hero in a complex light of like, okay, Wanda's going through a lot of shit right now, and maybe she made some bad decisions, including breaking into a government facility and stealing back Vision's body, and at least until the facade is dropped and Hayward is revealed to just be kind of like a boring bad guy villain, he's just a bad government dude. He's not interesting. But before that, I was like, it's kind of cool that like he's a good guy and she's a good guy, but she's doing bad things, and he is the antagonist, but he's morally in the right. And I found that very interesting because it's a cool concept. It's a little bit more complex than just good guy, bad guy. But of course, then they ruin it by being like, no, actually, she didn't steal Vision's body, and he lied to everyone, and he's manipulating everything, and he violated the Sokovia Accords by turning Vision into a weapon, and blah blah blah. And I go like, I mean, I guess we get White Vision out of it.
I feel like I still think there's a lot of character complexity in the events that how it actually came out, and I don't think it's that takes away from it as much, because if it turned out like, oh, she's more of a bad guy because she committed an actual crime, versus like, I don't know, the fact that she's going through all this mental anguish because of him, and she was able to establish, one, that like she has all more power than we ever thought she did have, and then two, that like it's all emotional trauma as well, that she's going through. Like, I don't know, that to me that speaks more to my taste in what I think is good writing.
Absolutely, I think it's good, and I think it'd be cool if we got a character like, until they. For me, I think it would have been more interesting if it was like
Hayward. I mean, he was like a bad guy, but he wasn't like the bad guy of this weekend.
No, but he was just, by the end of it, he was just like, oh yeah, you have no redeeming value. You're just a government suit. Like,
I don't think I needed him to be anything more than that, though.
Right, but okay. So like for me, I think the best two scenes in the entire series are when Vision and Wanda have their argument, because I just think it's a very, very well acted scene, but it it's when there's a lot of confusion between the show and the audience as to who is really in control and what's going on. But when, Vision is starting to not trust Wanda and they have their argument and it feels like a real, like, oh my God, mom and dad are fighting argument, that I think was handled really well and had some of the best acting of their characters since their characters were introduced in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And then the other one is when Wanda leaves the Hex to confront Hayward and all of them. I love that scene so much because, again, I like this idea of, like, Wanda's not a bad person. She's just going through some shit. And Hayward is not a bad person. He's just trying to de-escalate a situation in the only way he knows how, which is to take out the threat. And so, and you get them bumping into each other, and kind of Wanda is okay. She's rationalized in her head that I can, be, I can be a little bad and powerful and throw my power around and stuff to get what I want because I have suffered so much. Whereas by the end of the season, you're like, no, she was never in the wrong. She had the right of it the whole time, and Hayward was the jerk the whole time.
No,
I don't know.
We definitely left feeling that she was not in the right. Otherwise, she wouldn't have run away from taking everybody else.
She's not 100% in the right, but at least in that situation between her and Hayward is the bad guy of it, which I felt was kind of a missed opportunity. Because, man, when she came out of the Hex and she, like, threw the drone at them and she,
Yeah, but, like, imagine if they got into, like, a fight. Like, what would that fight look like if an all-powerful witch was just beating up on a guy with a gun? Like,
I don't need them to get into a fight. It's more of the ideals of it. Of just, like, I love the idea that she was willing to embrace a bit more of a darker side because we've seen her experience so much pain, and it would have finally been the moment when Wanda just stopped giving a fuck and she's like, no, I'm taking what I want and no one's gonna stop me. Come on, the part when she turned all the guns on him, I'm like, that is a Magneto move. That was so cool. In such a great character moment. It's not good for her. Like you're like, you shouldn't be doing this, but my God, like, what a power play.
Yeah. Listen, I did like that as well. But I think in the end, when kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say that. I don't know. I feel like what we got was was a lot of quality. I think it was great. I feel like now that Hayward's out of the way that he was, it leaves a lot of opportunity for, in the words of the Joker, further expansion.
Right, aggressive expansion,
whatever the hell it was.
It's fine. Listen, it gave us White Vision, and White Vision was awesome. So
also, we get to have a new sword director, hopefully played by Robert Redford's brother. Bobbert Bedford. So we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, as far as all that goes, I think it's
not to mention we get the whole Monica Rambeau, all that, which I want to get into in a moment when we talk about, like, because we have a section about lift-off boards or springboards.
Yeah.
And I think she is the best example of what we could have had in terms of anything in the show.
Yeah, I think here, before we jump into that, I just want to cover a few other, like, little things I thought were really noteworthy of this series. One, I love that they finally found a way to work in the name, the term Hex, because in the comics, her powers are called Hex powers, and I remember if you go back to Age of Ultron and they're trying to explain what she does, and
she's weird.
Yeah, she's weird, and you're just like, come on, like, you can do better than that. But it's great that now, like, the term Hex is tied to Wanda, as it should have been from the beginning. But so that was good. Uh, the Vision versus Vision fight, particularly the whole ship of Theseus.
The Theseus. I love the memes that we've got of this.
But no, I mean, if there was ever going to be a Vision versus Vision fight, that was going to be it. So I was really happy
it would be of logic and thought, and not of brawn and power.
Right. Except they do have a beam struggle, which is kind of cool. And then with White Vision, I just liked seeing White Vision. I remember as a kid, I would play the arcade game of the Avengers, which had Captain America, Iron Man, Hawkeye, and White Vision in it. So getting to see him here in the, I guess not in the flesh, in the adamantium, was a very cool moment.
Yeah. I do have another thing I'd like to hype up a little bit, because I really liked how they, brought back Darcy Lewis and Jimmy Woo. Not that every Marvel movie and show that needs to bring in other characters from the universe, but if there were any characters to bring in that I don't think would have overstayed their welcome, it was definitely them. Right. I feel like they offered exactly what we needed for certain aspects of the show.
Except Darcy Lewis just disappears at the end. They're like, "Oh, where's Darcy?" He's like, "Oh, she had to leave." Bye.
But while she was staying, she helped load Vision. I said load Vision, but got Vision up to speed with what's going on in the real world, and all that other things. I don't know. I felt like she did a good job, and also she's the reason why we know, or why we got the telecast of WandaVision in the real world. So
yeah, and she's the one who brought in the word hex. So I gotta give her props there. This is the best the best contribution she has had for the MCU. So props to her there.
And maybe she'll make an appearance in Love and Thunder. We don't know yet.
She probably will. I mean, if they're bringing back Jane, I feel like they gotta bring back.
I feel like maybe that's why they reintroduced Kat Dennings.
Maybe.
So we'll see. Either way, I did like that overall. And lastly, I just like to say that I really think, I'm glad that Disney and Marvel put their A game in terms of just bringing back or upholding the quality overall. I think I said this briefly earlier. Just I didn't feel like a change was made from TV to movie versus Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's definitely that ABC level quality in terms of the show, Yeah. But this thanks to the budget and thanks to everything else, they really made me feel like I was at home,
Yeah, I totally agree. I think sometimes the network shows you could feel the lack of budget in places.
I think it's a large reason why I stay away from a lot of the CW, DC stuff,
because they're not good.
Outside of them not being good, in my opinion,
I should say they're not good. I haven't watched them all that much, but can I say I have seen? I don't know the guy's name.
I don't even like Smallville, dude. I don't.
I never watched.
But it's just not what I wanted.
Smallville. What's the guy's name? So Tyler Hoechlin, who plays the CW version of Superman. Can I say, I watched a few clips from the new show they have, which is Superman and Lois, which is in the CW universe. Can I say, this guy, 100% better Superman than Henry Cavill.
Oh, yeah?
Because they make him a nice, hopeful, optimistic, proper Superman, and not the weird, angry, hates humans Superman.
Brandon Routh got to reprise his role as Superman, although he also plays the Atom.
Yes, I think he played Red Sun Superman or whatever.
Yeah, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I've never the CW stuff. I've
just never been a fan of the network. I don't like network television. Unless it's very specific. Yeah,
comedies.
It's not even it's just yeah, man. They're really hit or miss with me, and most of them are misses. They're not batting with a very high average.
Yeah, they're not great. I think they're more interested in shows with a formula. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was kind of like, oh, what's the enemy or the superhero of the week kind of.
I like when they brought in. I thought it was a waste when they brought in Ghost Rider.
Well, I thought so. Like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had an interesting thing where it was like the first season was ending, and that was right when Winter Soldier came out.
Yeah,
and obviously Captain America: Winter Soldier, it shook up everything by introducing the Hydra.
And then, everybody's a Hydra agent or something like that.
Right, and so for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you go like, oh, that's interesting. It shakes up the formula of the show, but it didn't really. But,
I don't know.
Whatever. Anyway, WandaVision, let me tell you something, man. If there was one aspect of the whole WandaVision everything that I grew really tired of by the end, it was all the fan theories. Because my God, did not a week go by where people were like, here's the top 10 theories for what's going to happen. I bet this person is this person. I bet that character is going to do this. Next week, we're going to see this person, I bet. And it was like, after a while, I wanted to be like, just shut up and enjoy it. Like, don't get your hopes up. You're just going to get disappointed.
Social media has made it very hard for me to just, one, enjoy social media, and two, enjoy any type of intellectual property, especially that has other source material that people just like worship in their closets.
Right. I don't have Twitter, but I understand Twitter has like a muting function where you can like mute WandaVision, and so any posts with WandaVision just won't show up.
I have to make a confession. Twitter is probably, though I've had Twitter for a while, it's probably the social media I now use the least.
Okay.
And
it's not that bad of a confession.
Well, I mean, in terms of some of the script or screen stuff, it is. But we're most active on Instagram, I'd say.
Yeah.
If you're gonna pick and choose where you follow, what you like and where you don't, Instagram is probably the best bet. That being said, yeah, I don't like all these people. I don't like all these things. I hated it with Star Wars. And I continue to hate it when people lay down this BS. But it gets worse. But then again, sometimes it helps out a little bit. Like I think Reddit's a good source for material because that's where I get to find out some intentional spoiler things that I look up myself,
right,
or expectations. But because
you're one of those.
But you and I do that though. Like for Avengers, we're like, I read something about Avengers that comes from a slightly incredible source.
We were doing that with Rise of Skywalker too, where we're like, hey, just by the way, this.
We did that with Force Awakens as well. I don't know if you remember, like long time ago in Galaxy.
Probably. I don't doubt it.
You're just my guy that I do that with.
I like speculating, but like when stuff is going on,
reasonable speculation.
So exactly. So let me just offer this list. This is just the list I compiled.
Go through everything. This is a lot.
I'm not going to expand on them. Just list them because this is both what I remember hearing people saying, and then just stuff I remember being on the internet and things I like went back and checked and were like, oh yeah, that was a theory, and like how stupid it was. So oh my god, okay, first
I don't know if you can see me highlighting these ones, but you can. That's all one.
Where?
In your fan expectation and theory section.
I don't know, but that this series would introduce mutants, that this series would bridge the MCU and the Fox movies, that Evan Peters was Mephisto, that Catherine Hahn was Mephisto, that Dodie, the one woman from the second episode, was Mephisto. Dottie, whatever.
Yeah.
That literally each character is Mephisto. That we would see Doctor Strange, that we would see Magneto, that we would find out that Mordo from Doctor Strange is behind everything.
Now that one I don't hate because I want to see Mordo, but you know.
Sure, but like people were like, oh, because at the end in the post-credit scene he goes, no more sorcerers, and so maybe he's gonna go after Wanda. No. That Agatha's rabbit, whose name was Senior Scratch, was going to end up turning into Nicholas Scratch, where it's like you clearly don't know
the Sabrina comics or the Sabrina show, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. There's a character Nicholas Scratch.
Well, Nicholas, maybe that's in the comics. There's
I think that's just common other name for the devil.
Maybe, but in the comics, Agatha Harkness's son is Nicholas Scratch, and he's like a villain. But whatever. That Pietro was a sword spy. That Monica Rambeau's astrophysicist was Reed Richards. That Reed Richards would appear, and he would be played by John Krasinski. That the rest of the Fantastic Four would appear. That this series is how we would get Fantastic Four. That Nightmare would be the big bad in the series, and he would set up Doctor Strange 2. That we will see or hear Ultron, that White Vision will speak with Ultron's voice, and that Westview was like a sword prison. It's you
read through all of them, damn it.
All these ridiculous theories. Now I will say, on one hand, this show is bad because not bad like it's not a bad show, but I feel like the show did a bad thing is that it did so much to invite that speculation, and it kind of it did that thing where it like baited people to theorize and expect things, and then it didn't do it. And
there's too much inclusivity going on these days.
So okay, like for example, like when you do things. When you do stuff like, oh, we're basing this partly off House of M, where you're like, okay, House of M is where Wanda wiped out all of the mutants, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people were expecting something like that, and I remember a big theory was we were going to get a reverse House of M, where in House of M she goes, no more mutants, and she wipes them all out. So the theory would be like, I don't know, in this she goes, some more mutants, and creates mutants or something or whatever. But like, I was like, no, it's probably not going to happen. She might do something that changes stuff. And to be fair, there might be something there, because there's the line when she defeats Agatha Harkness where she's like, Agatha's like, you have no idea what you've done. Like, this is you've done something. You're going to need my help and stuff. So they open the door that if they want to do something with that, they can.
Yeah.
But like,
listen, yeah. I just, hopefully that's the thing about these movies and these shows and these things. It's just they in a way they bait people, right? Like, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, it's a really great ending, and it's a series, so they can kind of continue the next week and stuff. But like, oh my god, I think I wish there was a disclaimer before every new movie or new episode now that said, please don't put your hopes up or hype everything up. Like, just let us do it for you. We know that's hard.
So like, yeah, like when you have a character and they're saying, oh, this character, she changes people's people, if you go through the hex, your physical, your biological makeup gets changed, and Monica Rambeau's getting powers now, and you go like, okay, that's how they're said.
Let me talk about that one though, because I honestly, if there's one of any springboard or relatability thing that happened in this show that I think was like the only one worth a damn, or it could have been worth a damn, it was just hers, and I'm glad that's the only one we got.
No, yeah, it was good. It was really good. She did a great job. But like, when you do that and people go, oh, but this means mutants. It's like, no, slow down. No, it means Monica Rambeau gets powers. You don't have to relate everything to the full thing. So part of the blame goes on the fans for just like not chilling the fuck out.
All the blame goes to fans.
No, not all the blame, because you know why? Because I put my notes here. I don't know if you can see me highlighting this, but they could have cast literally anyone as Pietro. They cast Evan Peters because it's true. Fun. It's because they cast Evan Peters because it's a fun nod and wink and nudge. But come on. Was no one in Disney like, hey, this could piss a lot of people off when his name's actually Ralph Boner?
I don't think they care, because they all know that they're still going to make money, and it's still overall it's a good show and everything like that. Like, I think Kevin Feige at this point, he's looking at Bob Chapek and Bob Iger, and he's like, hey guys, look how much money I've made you. let me have my fun. And they're
I think it's like asking someone to hit you and then being surprised when they do. It's like God. I don't know when
you sound like you've been in that situation before.
No, but it's just like it's a bait and switch. It's you go, haha, I got you so good. It's like, yeah, but why would you cast him? Not saying he didn't do a good job. He did a great job. And then the last thing I feel that the real problem with that on Marvel's side is they need to tell their actors to shut the hell up in the interviews, because you can't have an interviewer asking Elizabeth Olsen, hey, are there any Luke Skywalker type cameos in this season? And for her to be like, yeah, it's coming. Because then people are going to be like, oh my god, like something crazy is about to happen.
Yeah, where's the corporate responsibility on these big companies that make these things? Like, I get that they want to hype up and they want their shareholders to be like, oh, people like this stuff. Like, we're going to make a lot of money from this. But they got to realize, like, manage expectation. I want to say they contribute a lot to, like, online hate and things like that in terms of, like, no. Like, in reality, I bet you there could be a study done that kind of correlates or talks about, like, corporate marketing tactics and their effects on, like, social media. Because in a way, like, that's an unforeseen consequence of some of this stuff that they've done. And they alienate audiences and people all the time. They have these polarizing conversations on social media and Twitter and all this shit. And it's because of their irresponsibility, Zach. I'm telling you, we should start this cause. We should raise awareness.
But here's the thing. When you have Paul Bettany going on an interview and being like, I got to work with an actor we haven't seen yet, and I've always wanted to work with this actor, and our scenes together are amazing. And you go like, oh my god, who could it be? Benedict Cumberbatch? Is Ian McKellen about to appear? And you go, no. Paul Bettany was making a fucking joke about himself.
Yeah.
God damn it, Paul.
Yeah.
Like one man single-handedly.
I don't hate that entirely. But people.
No, it's funny in hindsight, but it's like there are people who hear that and they go like, well, now my expectations are through the roof, and nothing the show does now will ever live up to the high expectations I've set for myself. Not me, because I am reasonable and I knew that it was never going to do anything crazy. But, come on. When you have a character, when you have Monica Rambeau saying, oh, we're going to go meet my friend who's an astrophysicist, and they keep mentioning them not by name, but just, oh, they're right over the hill. They're coming.
I will say at that point, maybe that was the only point in the show. I was like, wait, what? Like, are we going to get an introduction here? And like,
it felt like they were setting something up. Like, oh, they keep drawing attention back to this astrophysicist who's 100% like not being named, but is being talked up a lot.
Yeah,
and. Of course, yeah, it's Marvel. When you think an astrophysicist, probably the first one that comes to mind is Reed Richards. So, like, the stuff's there where you go, like, you can't blame people too much for getting a little crazy with these fan theories.
Isn't it weird that Marvel has this collection of just, like, all these scientists, and they are just so happen to be, like there's never just an average Joe, right? It's like, you have a radiation gamma guy, and that's Banner. You have, like, a tech wizard and engineer, that's Tony Stark, or was, rather, rest in peace. And
I think you do. Like, Scott Lang was kind of an average thief.
Hank Pym was like a chemist,
That's true.
Like, you think about all these things, and it's like, oh shit. These they all are super smart, super genius. When is, like, a not smart person going to get a superpower or some great ability? Like, Scott Lang, he master thief. He has his MFA in coding, or MFA is like I don't know what it was, but he got
whatever.
He has a technical skill. He just worked at a Baskin Robbins or Dunkin'.
It's a good point. Maybe it's something that needs to be visited in the future. But yeah. So like with all these things, Reed Richards never showed up, and people got pissed. But I feel like by the end of the show, the people who were the most disappointed, And the people who were the most vocally disappointed were the people who were like, I wanted Reed Richards and I didn't get it. But it's like, yeah, but were you watching the show for what the show was about? Because the show was never about Reed Richards, and I feel like by the end... It was
in the title. It was about Wanda and Vision.
Weird, right?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like by the end, people were really judging the show more on its lack of reveals.
Its inability to make them as hype for whatever else. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like that's why I say I don't like this shit, because in the end, like they don't ever look at something objectively. They are just too into their own goddamn wants and needs, or what they think are their wants and needs, and they can't appreciate what they actually have. And it's unfortunate that I feel like a lot of people really don't have that hindsight. And it's the reason why I don't think people they can't look at something like Star Wars, which is the biggest thing that I think like The Last Jedi, as like what it is for being like an actual like well-made film. They just
focus on. Well, it's not what I wanted, so
I'm like, dude, is it about what you want, or is it about just like things in general? Like, look at art objectively, or as objectively as possible, and not in your weird, twisted reality that you think you live in, that you are so entitled to everything. Like,
right, and, it's okay to have it's okay to have like. Yeah, it's okay to have like fan theories and be like, I want this stuff to happen. But like, when it doesn't happen, that doesn't mean the film is bad. It just means that it wasn't something they thought to do. I think, again, the big issue with WandaVision is that they bait the audience so much with it that like that you can almost understand why the audience went a little crazy with it. Now, God, if in Falcon and Winter Soldier, if they're like, hey, yeah, I gotta go meet my friend over there. He's a I don't know. It's like he's a astrophysicist. I'm gonna be like, well, God damn it, are we doing this again? Yeah. I can tell you even now. I saw online, not that this is, I don't know if this is a spoiler or anything, but they put out a casting call for Spider-Man. What's the third one called? No Way Home. Mm-hmm. They did put out a casting call for a scene, and they need extras for a courtroom. And so my mind starts jumping everywhere where I'm like, well, I've heard rumors that Charlie Cox could be coming back as Matt Murdock, and now they're doing a casting call for a courtroom. Daredevil's gonna be in Spider-Man 3, and I start getting excited, but I go, you know what? No, just ignore it. Ignore it.
I think if they're going to do any type of multiverse stuff, it'll come when it comes. And, I got this time because of the whole Pedro thing. I'll try not to get got next time. Yeah. In terms of Falcon and Winter Soldier, I really don't know what to expect outside of I'm super happy we get to see Wyatt Russell. I like him as an actor.
Yeah, as a U.S. agent.
And I'm excited to
to see Daniel Bruhl.
Daniel Bruhl again. I want to see, and now we get like a more recent trailer or like clip of footage, and we get what's her name's niece?
Oh, Agent Carter.
We get our Agent Carter fix in there as well, and like I really have no other expectation for the show besides it looks awesome, and
it looks like it's going to have a lot of good action, and that's what I want from it.
That exactly, and how it ties in with everything else.
Keep your expectations reasonable, and you'll find yourself you won't be so mad all the time.
That's the thing too, and I think in the end it's good practice because you'll learn to appreciate things more. And two, you won't be a part of this toxic community of people that think that everything needs to be on demand as they want it, the way they want it.
Not to say that criticism isn't warranted for certain things. Like, criticism is good, but make sure you're criticizing a film or a show for valid things, not for they didn't do the thing I wanted. Yeah. So now it's a bad show. But it's funny because if you go back to Age of Ultron, there were so many people who left Age of Ultron complaining, and I feel rightfully so, that they were trying to set up too much stuff in that movie. You know, like Thor got into the cave and he went into the little hot tub and he had the vision about the Infinity Stones. And they were setting up all this stuff for future stuff down the line in the MCU for Phase 3. And a lot of people were like, I wish this would just focus on itself and not try and introduce a bunch of elements that will come, you know, down the line. And here we are 6 years later, and people are saying, you know, the show I felt focused too much on itself, and I wish that it had set up some stuff down the line.
I don't know. I feel like I definitely... I love Age of Ultron. It's still in like my top 5 Marvel movies of all time, probably.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. It's not as bad as people will talk like it is like the worst movie ever.
It is more of a personal bit. Like, I love Ultron, and I like James Spader a lot. Yeah, and I think it's great. That to say, my favorite of all the Marvel movies, if I'm going to just specify, is probably Infinity War.
Nice.
That is probably the best made. Thanos is so compelling. I just really think that
it was on TV yesterday. I was watching it.
Oh, really? I didn't realize they put that one on TV. That's good. But I mean, I guess, would you say that that was your final thought?
Just hey, audience, when you go see a movie, stay humble. And
remember, you're there at a movie, and it's a good time, and it's not your 9-to-5 job. And it's not like you're up for a promotion and you did all the things to get it and things like that. Like this, it's an escape, you know.
and you know, if Reed Richards doesn't show up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, don't worry, he will come eventually. He might not be John Krasinski, but he will come, and when it happens, it'll be great. But if it's not in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that doesn't make Falcon and the Winter Soldier a bad show.
People imagine Marvel now at this point as the king from Spaceballs, Princess Truridia's father. Like, yeah. Would I lie?
Right.
Shifting his eye. That's an old reference. If you get that, enjoy that movie.
Spaceballs is awesome. I love
Spaceballs. We should do an episode on Spaceballs coming soon to Script to Screen future catalog.
Definitely.
I think with that being said, Zach, this has been a wonderful conversation about WandaVision. Go watch it.
Before we sign off, I gotta ask you, and I feel like I know the answer for you. What was your favorite of the intros?
Favorite of the intros?
Of the intro musics.
Well, I mean, oh god, I don't even know if I remember.
There was the I Love Lucy one. The
did not like that one. I did not like. It's not that I didn't like it. It was just okay.
The one from the 70s, the like Partridge Family, Brady Bunch one.
It was all right.
The 80s Family Ties.
That was better. I liked that one. I did.
The Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle is good. It might be between the Ties and then the Malcolm in the Middle one.
Okay, because I assumed your favorite was going to be the one that was very clearly the Office theme.
I'm trying to remember what it sounded like. I don't know why it's not dawning on me.
It sounds almost exactly like the Office theme, except it carries the whole like the dun 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 the WandaVision motif.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Yeah, for me, I think it was either the 70s or 80s ones. I liked.
Here's another thing. What was your favorite commercial?
Ooh, God, maybe it might have been the Lagos brand paper towels, because I just love being like, Lagos, for when you made a mess you didn't mean to.
I think mine, it might have been, and I don't want to get this wrong, so I have to do like a quick search. They had like the mac and cheese thing.
Oh, the Yo Magic yogurt.
No. Was it not mac and cheese? It was not like a monster or something like that?
That's you're thinking. Am
I remembering something else?
You're remembering from Mandy, the cheddar demon.
Oh, I don't know why that came to my mind as like.
Hey,
weird
by the way, that reminds me. Go check out our Mandy episode. On Script to Screen now.
I'll tell you what I liked most about all the commercials. Like they're little like. Some of them had like the Hydra stuff. Some of them had like the Infinity Stone
Right,
stuff.
right.
Like, I thought that was awful. I don't know if I have a favorite commercial. I don't know why I remember the monster from Mindy. I'm like, oh, that's so it's so fresh in my head. I
That's
don't know.
great. Such a good movie.
They were, and such a good series. And Zach, once again, I want to thank you for joining me in this conversation about WandaVision.
I want to thank you.
If you have not seen it, it's available on Disney Plus now, all 9 episodes, for your listening pleasure.
And Assembled, which is the 1 hour behind the scenes feature all about WandaVision.
Ooh, so check that out. It's excellent content. And if you want to listen to more Script to Screen, be sure to go back to our website, scriptoscreen.com or anchor.fm/scriptoscreen. We are also available on all the social media platforms. I think we singled out Instagram as like our top pick, but we also have Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well, at Script to Screen. I am Chris Kitchen.
And I'm Zach Strackman.
You have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.